Hey you guys, Destiny here. Wanted to come on and do a super quick video explaining how you can obtain your loan origination license in under 30 days. So I'm going to jump into details. Stay tuned. So before I jump into the 5, what I would deem is pretty easy steps to obtaining your loan origination license, I wanted to go through some of the many benefits of doing so. For me personally, I'm already a licensed real estate broker in 2 states. And so what I find with adding this license on is it just makes me more well-rounded, more marketable. I'm able to bring value to any company that I go to because I have my real estate license as well as obtaining my loan origination license, making me what I would like to call a boss. All right, so reason number 1, first of all, as a lot of you may know, the real estate industry is pretty saturated. It's not an inexpensive license to hold. I know firsthand, especially with having a real estate license in 2 bordering states. Those fees and renewal fees and classes and MLS dues, all those things can add up really quickly. So what I found is the loan origination license, for the most part, is fairly low cost to obtain. I found that the required prerequisite classes or the pre-licensing class of 20 hours ranges from about $200 to $500. And this doesn't include the state-specific education requirements for you to be able to add on your states to your license. I found that those ran probably about $39 to up to $89. What I love about this license is that there is one national test. So with one national test, you are able to simply just sit for the educational requirements of every state that you desire to add onto your license, and that is it. So that means that you are taking 120-hour pre-licensing class and taking one national exam. And of course, no degree required. I believe that the only prerequisite educational-wise is the 20-hour pre-licensing exam, as well as anything that's state-specific, as well as your high school diploma or GED. The 20-hour course, you can find that it can be done completely online at your leisure. I personally took a self-paced online course through Mortgage Educators and Compliance, MEC, that's Mortgage Educator and Compliance. And I was able to go on YouTube and find plenty of very, very reliable, free training and educational resources on YouTube. There's one in particular called Affinity Real Estate and Mortgage. That's Affinity Real Estate and Mortgage. The instructor's name is Artricia. She was amazing. After I completed my online class, when I was prepping to take my exam, I just listened to her. I had an entire playlist with her, and I'll say a lot of the information that she was giving through this free resource, a lot of it was on the exam. Speaking of the exam, I found, honestly, it was easier than the real estate exam. And again, you just take that one national exam for all of the states, and then you're set. And I found that the wording was just a lot more truer to what you were seeing on the practice tests and things like that. They did have quite a few scenario based, but they weren't crazy. And there was a little bit of math. Again, very elementary, what I would deem as elementary based math, how to calculate income and things like that. And then there were some math questions that didn't involve numbers. There were questions that kind of pertain to, debt or income. It would give you an example and say, this is an example of what? And you would say, oh, this is an example of calculating income. And that was considered a math question. As far as duration goes, I was able to take the online educational course, the 20 hours, and plus the 4 hour North Carolina state specific education. I was able to do that all within a 7 day period. So they give you the option of 5 days crash course or a 12-day course, and it's all self-paced. I chose the 12-day course just because I'm a mom, I work full time. I wasn't exactly sure what that scheduling was going to be like, and I knocked mine out in exactly 7 days. After taking your online course and successfully passing a very, very brief exam at the end, I was able to sit for the national exam within 2 weeks. And that was only because that was the very first exam that was available. I think with the COVID restrictions, there were less time slots. So I had to wait of a total of exactly 2 weeks, which was awesome. It allowed me to get my YouTube playlist together, go over my notes, go through a few practice tests. And that's the great thing about the prerequisite or the pre-licensing company that I went with, or educator that I went with, is that they had a bunch of practice exams. And again, the practice exams were very, very, very closely related to what is actually on the exam. So that 2 weeks time just gave me that time to prep in preparation for the national exam. Another great reason to either direct your path towards the loan origination license or add this license onto your real estate license is that you are able to kind of widen your net when it comes to the various products that you would be able to sell. So instead of just strictly dealing with purchases, on the real estate side, you deal with the purchase and you really don't see your client or get more business from that client unless they are in the market for another home. So you might have to wait a couple years for them to get back in the market to purchase a home, whereas with a loan origination license, you would be able to not only do the loan for the purchase of the home, but also if rates drop or terms get better, then you can also reach back out to that same person for refinances. Another really good point that I would like to make with this is that there are plenty of entry level roles with loan origination. That means for the most part, no experience is required. A lot of companies or I guess lenders would want you to have some sort of experience in customer service, possibly sales, but most of the time they start you off at a very slow pace, possibly as a LOA or loan originator assistant, a junior loan originator. Sometimes you're a consultant where you're just doing the pre-quals. So there are so many roles. If you just go onto Indeed or any job board really and put in entry level loan originator, thousands of jobs will pop up. Next is what I've been researching is that there is a fairly high earning potential. So there are two different routes that you can go with obtaining a position as a loan originator. So the first route is 100% commission based, where you sign on with the lender, you go out, procure your own customers, do your own marketing, and you're really drumming up your own business. You're running it like your own business. With that first example of how you can go about using your license, where it's 100% commission, is that it's high risk, but it's also higher reward. So you get to keep a bigger chunk of any commissions that you bring in. The second way that you can go about becoming a loan originator and signing on with a lender or possibly a bank is you can go in as a W-2 salaried employee. I personally, that is the route that I've always had in mind when I first began pursuing my loan origination license. I already knew that I wanted to be with an employer, something that has a base salary. I wasn't really big on, I guess, the the portion of commission or bonus structure, I'm really hyper focused on the actual training side of it. It just so happens that I was able to land a position that combines the best of both. So I'll get into that at a later time and tell you all the deets on how that happened. So to wrap this up and give you a breakdown of the exact timeline of how long it took me to go from online training to landing a job, it was really in the span of 30 days, believe it or not. So I was able to begin my online course that is the 20-hour pre-licensing online course that I did self-paced study along with my first state specific education, which was another 4 hours. So in total, a total of 24 hours. I started that class on the 14th. I fully completed it. This is while working a full-time job, while raising a kid, while doing all the things. I was able to complete this class in a 7-day span. So I started on the 14th, ended on the 21st. The first exam date was July 6th. If I was able to do that faster, there is no doubt in my mind that I was just so ready to get this information out of my head. I would have totally done it faster. But I do think that everything happens for a reason. I was able to find those free YouTube videos online and just listen to the playlist over and over and over again. And again, it just really worked out in my favor because I was able to pass the exam on the first try with a 91. Like, come on. So I was able to pass that on the first try, and then as soon as I signed up for the class, I updated my resume, letting everyone, all the employers know in my objective that I was taking this class. Once I passed the exam, I went back in, updated my resume again with my NMLS number. It's such a tongue twister. Saying, hey, successfully passed the exam. I noticed at that point was when I started getting a lot of hits on my resume, and I had it spread across multiple job boards. And then on July 13th, so I began interviewing and, kind of ruling out the employers that I just knew I was not going to want to go that route. So I did a 100% commission interview. I did more like a call center interview. I did an interview with a big wig loan company that I'm sure a lot of people have heard about. Unfortunately, our values just did not line up. I knew that I could tell how the recruiter was even talking to me, that I was like, this is not going to work. And then I ended up landing on the one company that I pursued right from the beginning, that I knew that, hey, if they offer me an opportunity, I am jumping on it, just because their values, their culture, their pay structure, their base pay, their benefits, everything just lines up with exactly what I was looking for. And I am not sacrificing anything. 100% remote, unlimited PTO. So I say all that to say, from the time that I signed up for the online course to the time I took my exam to the time I got the job offer was exactly 30 days. So just wanted to show you guys that there are other avenues that you can pursue. So 5 things that you need, or 5 steps that you need to take in order to obtain your loan origination license. I will share the 5 steps that I took. There might be a few more steps involved if you do not go the W-2 employer route. So the additional steps, I'll explain that when we get there. So step number 1 is you're going to go on the National Multi-State Licensing System and Registry, the NMLS. I cannot say that fast. I don't think I ever will, but this is just basically a database. So think of it as you getting your loan origination social security number. That is all that it does. It generates a number. It takes all of maybe 3 to 5 minutes to do when their website is working. And this is a number that is going to follow you throughout your career. Step 2 would be to find an online course. You can go to any online course as long as they are recognized by the NMLS. So there are plenty of courses out there. I personally took mortgage educators and compliance. If I knew what I know now, I would have done the Affinity real estate and mortgage. The lady Artricia, where I found her entire playlist and she was like spot on with everything. I would have definitely taken her course. She made learning just very fun and memorable. Step 3 is to study. So after you take your required 20 hours, the key is to study. For me personally, it was setting up a YouTube playlist, and so that when I'm riding around in a car, showing houses and things like that, I'm just listening to the different regulations and things like that. So I dedicated, I want to say it ended up being about 20 hours, 20 to 24 hours worth of studying. That and it was over like a 2-week span because I was just waiting to take my exam. So you're talking about 2.5 hours of listening to YouTube videos and also reviewing my notes and things like that. So next up would be to take and pass the exam. Take and pass the exam. So I was reading that this exam has a pass rate of 58%. And so, of course, I'm going in all in my head like, man, these are going to be like some subliminal, confusing questions. No, by no means. It is not nearly as hard as the real estate exam. So, and you have a national and a state portion of the real estate exam. This is just a straight up national portion of the exam, little bit of math, mostly ethics, common sense, and the wording, the font size, everything about this exam just was so much easier. So take the time to study and then take the exam, I say, as early as possible. Because if you fail the exam the first time, you have to wait an entire 30 days. So you got to sit there with all this stuff that you really don't understand in your head for 30 days. If you fail the second time, that's another 30-day wait. You fail the third time, you have to wait a total of 6 months, you guys, in order to take this exam. So studying and proper preparation is everything. And you can find plenty of practice exams, whatever educator you go with for your 20-hour pre-licensing. Definitely make sure that they have unlimited practice exams that give you an instant result. And then last but not least, update your resume. I would say update your resume every step of the way. Like I did, I put in my objective when I was taking my educational courses, when I had officially passed my exam. And I got a really, really good response from a lot of employers because typically they bring you in entry level, they train you in hopes that you are able to pass the exam. So when they saw that a person had proactively already taken the course, they invested in themselves, and they had passed this exam that only 58% of people have passed, I was getting a really, really good response. So that felt really good. And then go online, search for those entry level roles. Again, the job boards, I did Indeed. The biggest one that was just super easy to apply to a mass amount of positions was Zappia, Zippia. Zappia. It's a newer job board, I believe. And I just had a really great response from that site. So at this point, I pumped the brakes. So I passed the exam. I had started the application, but I was already, I want to say, about $350 in. That's for my, no, I was about $450 in because the exam cost $110. And so between the education, I went ahead and got the North Carolina, the South Carolina, as well as California educational, the state-specific education, so that when I go to file for my application, I can just click those boxes and my application will go to those states as well. And hopefully the, my license will come back all in one bundle automatically with those state endorsements already on there. And so I stopped at that point because I knew that I wanted to sign on with an employer that was going to pay for the rest of the way. So the application portion, which I recently learned, is the portion that can begin to get expensive because each state has their own application fee, if that makes sense. So those are my 5 steps that I took to get to this point. The NMLS number, the 20-hour in the state-specific education, studying for however many hours you feel comfortable until you are able to take the exam. For me personally, it was 20 to 24. Take the exam, update your resume, land that job. So if you guys have any additional questions, I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed this video. I'm still in the beginning phase of this, and I'll say, you know, I've been really enjoying just learning about the mortgage process. The whole acquiring of my mortgage license has been a very pleasurable one. I was not at all stressed like how I was stressed when obtaining my real estate license. So if you guys have any additional questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, peace.